My girlfriend's sister came to me crying during our engagement ceremony. She placed something in my hand and ran away before I could stop her. I, 30 male, am a forensic accountant. I spend my days staring at spreadsheets, tracking hidden assets, and figuring out where the money went when people try to make it disappear. You would think that someone with my skill set would be hyper-vigilant in his own life, right? You would think I would notice if the numbers in my own relationship didn't add up, but I didn't. I was blind. I was in love with a version of a woman that didn't actually exist, and I was about to sign a contract, marriage, that would have cost me everything I had ever worked for. To understand how this blew up, you need to understand the players. My ex, 27 female, was perfect on paper. She was beautiful, poised, and seemed incredibly supportive of my long hours. Then there was her family. Her mother was a piece of work, a real estate developer who always had a new project that was just about to pop, but never seemed to have liquid cash. Her father was a ghost, a nice enough guy who had clearly been beaten down by decades of his wife's bulldozing personality. And then there was the sister, 25 female. For 2 years, my ex had conditioned me to dislike the sister. She told me the sister was unstable, jealous, a drug addict, a liar. Every time we went to family events, if the sister tried to talk to me, my ex would swoop in and steer me away, whispering later, "She's just trying to get money out of you, don't engage." So I didn't. I iced her out. I treated her like a pariah because I trusted the woman I shared a bed with. That trust died last Saturday. I had gone all out for our engagement party. I dropped nearly $40,000 on renting out a high-end vineyard estate, catering for 200 people, an open bar with top-shelf liquor, and a live jazz band. I wanted it to be perfect. The ring alone cost me $28,000, a custom setting I had saved for 18 months to buy. I was debt-free, owned my apartment, and was ready to start a family. The party was in full swing. The sun was setting, the string lights were on, and everyone was laughing. I was standing near the edge of the patio, just taking a moment to breathe and loosen my tie when I saw the sister coming toward me. She wasn't walking like someone at a party. She was walking like someone fleeing a crime scene. She was shaking. Her face was pale, and her makeup was smeared like she'd been crying in the bathroom for an hour. I braced myself, expecting some drama or a request for cash, just like my ex had warned me. But she didn't ask for anything. She didn't even say hello. She just grabbed my hand with an icy grip, shoved a thick folded manila envelope into my palm, and whispered, "I can't let them do this to you. I'm so sorry." Then she ran. She didn't look back. She sprinted toward the parking lot, got into her beat-up sedan, and peeled out of the gravel driveway. I stood there, totally confused. I looked down at the envelope. It felt heavy. Before I could even slide a finger under the flap, I heard the rapid clicking of heels on the pavement. What is all this? My ex was rushing toward me. She wasn't smiling. Her eyes were darting around, scanning the area, looking for her sister. Where did she go? Did that psycho try to talk to you? What did she give you? Her voice wasn't just annoyed. It was frantic. There was a jagged edge of panic in it that I had never heard before. She reached for the envelope. "Give it to me. She probably wrote some insane letter full of lies. I'll throw it out." I pulled my hand back. The forensic accountant in me woke up. When someone is that desperate to hide a document, it means the document contains the truth. I didn't say a single word. I just turned my back to her and ripped the envelope open. Inside, there were 3 things: a photocopy of a prenatal medical record, a bank wire transfer receipt, and a terrifying legal document. I read them. It took me maybe 10 seconds to process the data. The medical record showed my ex was 12 weeks pregnant. The conception date was right there in black and white. Here's the math problem. I had been in Chicago for a massive audit for 5 straight months around that time. I hadn't seen her. We hadn't been intimate in nearly half a year due to work and her stress. The father listed on the intake form wasn't unknown. It was the name of her abusive ex-boyfriend, the one she claimed she had blocked everywhere, the one she told me she hated. But the second and third documents were the ones that made my knees buckle. The mother and my ex had taken out a $250,000 hard money loan, high interest, predatory terms, and the collateral? My apartment. They had forged my signature. There was a copy of the loan agreement with a scrawl that looked somewhat like mine, notarized by a notary stamp that I later found out belonged to a cousin of theirs who lost his license years ago. The wire transfer receipt showed the money hitting a shell account controlled by the mother and then immediately moving out to pay off what looked like overdue gambling debts and construction liens. The plan was laid out in a printout of text messages the sister had included. The mother had texted my ex, "Just keep him happy until the wedding. Once you sign the certificate, the debt becomes marital property. We can use his salary to service the loan, and if he tries to leave, you'll have the baby for leverage. He's a soft touch. He won't leave a kid even if he suspects." And my ex replied, "I know. I just need to get that ring on my finger first so we can sell it if the interest payment spikes. He's so boring. I can't wait until I don't have to pretend to listen to his work stories anymore." My world didn't just shatter, it evaporated. The woman standing behind me wasn't my fiancée. She was a con artist. She was a predator who looked me in the eye for 2 years and lied every day. I turned around. My face must have looked like stone because she stopped reaching for the papers. I didn't scream. I didn't ask why. I simply handed her the photocopy of the ultrasound and the text log. She took it, looking ready to rip it up and laugh it off, but the moment her eyes hit the paper, specifically the text message where she called me boring and plotted to sell the ring, she froze. All the blood drained from her face. She looked like a ghost. She opened her mouth to speak, maybe to spin a lie, but she knew my eyes. There was nothing there for her anymore. No love, no patience, no soft touch. She burst into tears, instant, ugly sobbing, but she didn't say anything. She knew she was caught. She turned around and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of guests who were still eating the appetizers I had paid for. I walked over to the DJ booth. The band was playing some upbeat jazz number. I signaled the sound guy to cut it. The music died with a record scratch sound that felt appropriate. I grabbed the mic. "Attention, everyone," I said, my voice sounding calm, almost robotic. "The engagement is over. The party is over. Please finish your drinks and leave. The shuttles will be taking everyone back to the hotel immediately." A collective gasp went through the crowd. The mother came running out from the buffet line, a plate of shrimp in her hand. "What are you doing? Are you drunk?" she screeched. I just looked at her, dropped the mic on the table, and walked to my car. I didn't go home. I knew they would be there, and I knew if I saw them right then, I might do something that would land me in jail. I drove to a hotel on the other side of the city. I turned off my phone, which was already vibrating with calls from her mom, and half the guests. I spent that night doing what I do best. I built a case. I went through every financial interaction we'd ever had. I checked my credit report. Thankfully, the hard money loan hadn't hit the major bureaus yet because it was a private lender, but the lien was likely already filed against my property title. I made a list of every gift, every transfer, every text message. I didn't sleep. By 8 a.m., I had a plan. First, I went to the police station. I filed a report for identity theft and forgery. I handed over the copies of the loan documents the sister had given me. In my state, forging a deed or financial instrument regarding real estate is a serious felony. The officer on duty took it seriously when he saw the amount, $250,000. Next, I needed to secure my home. I called a private security firm and hired 2 guys to accompany me for a civil standby. I didn't trust the police to arrive in time if things went south, and I wanted witnesses who were on my payroll. We arrived at my apartment around 11 a.m. I used my key to open the door. The place was a disaster. Suitcases were open everywhere. My ex and her mother were frantically packing, not just their stuff, but my stuff, my expensive watches, my electronics, even the silver from the kitchen. They froze when I walked in. "You!" the mother screamed, her face turning a violent shade of red. "You abandoned my pregnant daughter at her own party! You monster!" "Put the silver back," I said calmly. My ex was sitting on the couch crying. She looked up at me with those big, teary eyes that used to work on me. "Baby, please, let me explain. My sister is crazy. She faked those papers. You know she hates me." "I verified the loan this morning," I said, cutting her off. "I called the lending agency. They have a recording of the closing meeting. They said I was there. But since I was at a conference in Dallas that day, which I have flight records for, we both know it was your cousin acting as a proxy." Her face dropped. The crazy sister defense evaporated. Then the mother decided to play their ace. She looked at my ex and nodded. My ex suddenly threw herself back against the couch cushions and started screaming, "Stop hitting me! Oh my God, stop! He's hurting the baby!" The mother pulled out her phone and started recording. "Get away from her! I'm calling the police! You wife beater!" I stood perfectly still. I didn't move a muscle. "Ma'am," said one of the security guards I had hired, stepping into the room from the hallway, "we are recording audio and video. Mr. My Name has not moved from the doorway. We suggest you stop this performance immediately." The mother whipped around, seeing the two large men in tactical gear. She lowered her phone. "This is my apartment. You are not on the lease. You are not on the deed. You have stolen my property, forged my signature, and now attempting to frame me for domestic violence. You have 10 minutes to take your personal clothing and leave. If you touch anything else, my electronics, the silverware, the furniture, I will have these gentlemen perform a citizen arrest for theft until the real police arrive to serve the felony warrant I filed this morning." "You can't kick us out," the mother yelled. "She's pregnant. She has rights, squatter's rights." "She's been staying here for 3 weeks. That's a guest, not a tenant. And since you just committed a crime in front of witnesses attempting to frame me, I don't think you want to test the patience of the officers who are on their way to take a statement regarding the forgery." It was a bluff. The police weren't coming right now for the arrest. Investigations take time. But they didn't know that. They scrambled. They threw their clothes into garbage bags. The mother was cursing me the entire time, calling me impotent, a loser, a bean counter. My ex just wept, trying one last time to grab my arm as she walked out. "I loved you. I did it for us. We needed the money to start our life." "You did it to pay off your mother's gambling debts, and the baby isn't mine. Goodbye." I closed the door and locked it. Then I changed the locks within the hour. But that wasn't the end. Entitled people don't just go away. They retaliate. For the next 2 weeks, my life was a living hell. They launched a smear campaign that was honestly impressive in its scope. They posted on every local Facebook community page that I was an abuser who beat his pregnant fiancée and threw her on the street. They posted photos of her with bruises, clearly makeup, and tagged my employer, the local accounting board, and my church. I started getting hate mail. My boss called me into his office looking concerned. "We're getting calls, people saying you're a monster." I laid out the police report, the affidavit regarding the forgery, and the proof of the paternity timeline. My boss, being a numbers guy, understood immediately. "Okay," he said, "we'll issue a statement if we have to. You're good." But the harassment didn't stop. They ordered 50 pizzas to my apartment, cash on delivery. They signed my email up for every porn site and spam list in existence. They keyed my car in the parking lot at work. They wanted me to break. They wanted me to settle. They wanted me to drop the forgery charges and pay them hush money to make the social media posts go away. I didn't respond to a single text. I didn't comment on the posts. Instead, I met with the sister. We met at a diner 3 towns over. She looked better. Relief does wonders for the complexion. She told me she'd been saving evidence for years because she knew her mother would eventually throw her under the bus too. "Mom's business isn't real," she told me over coffee. "It's a Ponzi scheme. She takes deposits for condos she never builds, pays off the investors from the last project, and skims the rest." "Do you have the ledgers?" I asked. She slid a USB drive across the table. "Everything. Bank accounts, dual sets of books, the fake invoices, it's all there." I took the drive home and went to work. What I found was staggering. The mother wasn't just a bad businesswoman, she was a criminal mastermind. She had defrauded over 50 families in the area. She had taken deposits for luxury condos that were currently just empty lots with a few rusty bulldozers parked on them to look active. She was using that money to lease luxury cars, pay for vacations, and fund the lavish lifestyle she and her ex felt they were entitled to. And here's the kicker. They had used my engagement party as a networking event to pitch to 3 new investors. The party I paid for was their sales floor. I compiled a 40-page forensic dossier. I traced every dollar. I linked the shell companies. I highlighted the tax evasion. Then I initiated the nuclear option. I didn't just sue them, I obliterated them. First, I filed a civil suit for the return of the engagement ring. In my state, the ring is a conditional gift. If the marriage doesn't happen, I get it back. They tried to fight it. Their lawyer, a guy who looked like he slept in his suit, argued that I had constructively ended the engagement through abuse, meaning I was at fault and she should keep the ring. We went to court. The judge looked at them, then looked at me and said, "Which one of you is an actual accountant?" I raised my hand. He looked at the ex again. "The ring back, now please." Once you have the police report, a judge throwing out a domestic violence allegation, the other things become a much easier sell. Bored, until my lawyer played the video footage from the venue, which I had subpoenaed, and the audio recordings the sister provided where my ex admitted the baby wasn't mine and that the abuse allegations were a strategy to keep the house. The judge was not amused. He ordered the immediate return of the ring and sanctioned their lawyer for bringing a frivolous defense. He also ordered them to pay my legal fees, which were climbing into the 5 figures. But the real show was the criminal side. I sent my dossier to the State Attorney General and the IRS whistleblower office. The raid happened on a Tuesday. I know because I took the day off to watch the news. The local news had a helicopter over the mother's office. Agents in windbreakers were carrying out boxes of files. Because I had provided the roadmap, the investigation was fast. They froze everything: the bank accounts, the assets, the cars. The mother was indicted on 12 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of tax evasion, and 1 count of identity theft for my loan. She's currently sitting in county jail because she couldn't make the bail, which was set at $2 million given the flight risk. My ex? Her life collapsed. With the mother's assets frozen, the credit card stopped working. They were evicted from the luxury Airbnb they had crashed in after I kicked them out. Since the abusive ex was actually the father of her child, she tried to run back to him. Turns out he wasn't abusive, he was just broke, which in her mind was the same thing. He wanted nothing to do with her drama. Last week, I got the notification that the lien on my apartment was dissolved because the loan was proven fraudulent. I was in the clear. Then I saw the tow truck. I was walking out of my office building, and across the street I saw a familiar Mercedes being hoisted up. My ex was standing there, visibly pregnant now, screaming at the driver. She looked tired. Her designer clothes were wrinkled. She looked like exactly what she was, a woman who had tried to cheat the system and lost. She saw me. She stopped screaming. For a second, I thought she was going to charge at me. Instead, she slumped. She walked across the street, ignoring the traffic. "My name?" she said, her voice trembling. "Please, I have nowhere to go. Mom is in jail. They took the car. I'm sleeping on a friend's couch, but she wants me out by Friday." She reached out to touch my arm. "The baby. The doctor said there's a margin of error. It could be yours. Even if it's not, you promised to love me. You promised to take care of us. Isn't that what a real man does? Forgives?" The entitlement was breathless. She had tried to steal my home, frame me for a felony, and ruin my career, and she still felt she was owed a rescue. I stepped back. A real man protects himself. And as for the baby, if it was mine, I would have fought for it with everything I have. But we both know the truth. You have the paternity test. You have the text messages. "But I have nothing," she wailed, causing people on the sidewalk to stare. I said, "You have your freedom, which is more than your mother has right now. I suggest you get a job." I walked to my car and drove away. The sister moved to Colorado. I helped pay for her moving truck. She sends me postcards sometimes. She's working in a bakery and is finally happy. She's the only one who got out with her soul intact. As for me, I got the ring back. I sold it yesterday. I used the money to book a 3-week trip to Italy, solo. No engagement parties, no family drama. Just me, some wine, and a whole lot of peace and quiet hours. The lesson here is simple. Always check the books. If the emotional math doesn't add up, audit the relationship before you sign on the dotted line. If you enjoyed reading about how I used forensic accounting to dismantle a gold digger's life, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Unlike my ex-fiance's apologies, it's completely free and actually worth something.